There's something in the air.
This is the feeling I've been searching for my entire life.
Stop the hate and celebrate what the Lord has given us.
Are you with me?
My job ain't to follow the law, Al. My job is to interpret it.
Hi.
Hey,
There's something in the air.
I've tried to be a better human being.
There's something in the
You are dealing with something that has never occurred on this planet. There are things that you're better off not understanding.
And I want to know what happened that night.
There's something in the
I'm not sure about this part. I want to be president for all Americans. I mean, do I? You know, all of them?
there's something
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. As we all expected, HBO dropped some new Game of Thrones footage that we have to break down. Now, they dropped it as part of this really big trailer, but the scene that they showed is from Season 8, Episode 1. It's basically the opening scene. So there's a new round of that book giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on the video. There's a whole bunch of other footage in here too. Obviously, we'll talk about all the Game of Thrones stuff first, but I know a lot of you are asking questions about Watchmen, and obviously there's His Dark Materials, the Golden Compass that HBO will be airing episodes for, so I'll talk about that stuff at the end of the video. Just a reminder about the release date, it's April 14th. We're almost within the 1 month window. So what we're seeing at the start here is all the ravens flying west along the wall, implying that Tormund and Beric Dondarrion were able to get a raven off to Castle Black Ed and the other Brothers of the Night's Watch that stayed at Castle Black during Season 7. Remember, there's barely any Brothers of the Night's Watch. The whole reason why the Wildlings went to man Eastwatch by the Sea was because none of the other Lords of the North wanted to spare any of their people. Cersei obviously wasn't going to send them any reinforcements, so Tormund sort of called them all out on it in that council meeting and said, well, I guess it's basically up to us now. So that was the TV show's version of giving the Wildlings that land on the gift, because during the books, they make it south of the wall and then they have to figure out what to do with them next. So in the books, they granted them that portion of land, but on the TV show, they just went and all manned Eastwatch by the Sea. RIP, most of them probably died during that. But just because the ravens are flying to Castle Black doesn't necessarily mean that that's also where Beric and Tormund went, because all they would need to do is let Ed know what happened and tell him to get his ass to Winterfell with any surviving Brothers of the Night's Watch. There's no reason to man the wall anymore. The White Walkers are coming south, so everybody make a beeline for Winterfell. So I'm guessing that they probably pull a Gendry and do the world's fastest dash to Winterfell and just show up in the first episode. Like, you guys have no idea what's going on until Bran wheels in and goes, no, actually, I can warg ravens. I saw everything that happened, so no worries. I got them up to speed. That's the advantage of having someone like Bran, is that you don't actually need to send ravens to Winterfell because he controls the ravens and sends them out to get information. Then there's a shot of Drogon flying over Daenerys' army as they march right through Wintertown. If you don't know where Wintertown is, that's the little town that's right south of Winterfell. So pretty much anybody that comes to Winterfell from the south passes through there on their way up. That's where Tyrion was in the pilot episode when Jaime went to find him, when they were having that big scene of Robert Baratheon and the Lannisters marching in to meet all the Starks. He's like, I'll go find my brother. He's probably in the brothel. So this is happening in Wintertown. You can actually see the little huts and the wooden buildings behind them here. You don't really get a sense for the scale of Drogon in this shot here, but the visual effects artists say that one of the scales on his hide is bigger than Season 1 Drogon, so the dragons have continued to grow since the end of Season 7. Not that much time has passed, but you have to imagine that it would take them a couple weeks to march everyone to Winterfell. So even though they do use a lot of fast travel, scene to scene, where they'll just jump all the way over Westeros, like how did he get here so fast? When you take everything into context, it still took them a long time to get this far. But I love the way they open the shot with the Unsullied Legions. I'm guessing this is also the way that they reveal that opening scene too, with them marching in. Then you get the slow reveal of everyone else. Then you finally see Jon and Daenerys. You can't really pick out Grey Worm underneath any of these helmets here, but you can see the Dothraki Blood Riders marching on the horses behind them. You probably recognize Kono from Season 7, he's sort of her chief Blood Rider. But as the camera follows Drogon as they march north to Winterfell through Wintertown, you get the first real shot of Arya that we've seen, seeing Drogon, freaking out, and then you see her expression change to wonder, like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing that I've ever seen in my entire life, and I just killed all the Freys in a reverse red wedding by stealing Walder Frey's face. Right now, because all these peasants are behind here too, I'll talk about them in a second because their reactions are really funny when you look at Arya. Like, look in the background as they're freaking out. They have voiceover and a music track on this, so you don't actually hear their screams like, oh my god, it's a dragon. This also looks like it's happening in that same scene, so she happens to be in Wintertown watching the army march through before they make it to Winterfell and you get that big introduction scene. Obviously, they don't show you Jon Snow and Daenerys. You have to imagine what this opening scene is probably going to be like too, and I like the way that they're using Arya's perspective to show this. Like, she's the one whose eyes are tracking Drogon as he flies over the army. But this is sort of a nicer version of Daenerys bringing her armies to King's Landing in the Season 7 finale and them having that big meeting in the Dragon Pit. They'll be meeting in the Great Hall of Winterfell to talk about battle planning shortly after this, but Daenerys is basically making the grandest possible entrance that she ever could. The greatest entrance that anyone at Winterfell has ever seen in its many thousands of years of history. Also probably the greatest intro to any season of Game of Thrones ever. And Season 7 was actually really cool with that Arya reverse red wedding. But it's probably one of those slow reveal situations. Like, remember at the beginning of Season 7, also right after that red wedding scene, you get the slow reveal of the army of the dead marching through winter, the White Walkers, the Night King, slowly being unveiled. So it's sort of like Daenerys' army in this version is slowly being unveiled. You see the shot of the Unsullied Legions, then you see as they pass by, you see all the Blood Riders, then you see the dragons, then they probably reveal Jon Snow and Daenerys, and it's sort of like Arya just looking at them in wonder, like, this is so amazing, I'm so happy to be here. Then she sees Jon, but it's hard to tell just from this footage whether or not they're separating a lot of the reunions, and Arya has her reunion with Jon Snow in Wintertown before they head to Winterfell and go through the gates, because obviously Daenerys probably isn't going to try and shade Sansa and the Lords of the North the way that she shaded Cersei when they showed up at the end of Season 7 for their big meeting in the Dragon Pit. She'll probably land the dragons outside the outer walls, maybe stop the Blood Riders and the Unsullied Legions a good distance away, and then just take a small party of her closest inner circle through the main gates. Like, you have Ser Jorah with her here. Varys, Tyrion, Missandei, Grey Worm are also probably in the background of there somewhere too. But it actually would be really cool if Jon had a little reunion with Arya before that big opening scene of them walking through. And it would make sense that you would try to separate that out just to give it its own distinct moment. Like, Jon was the person that she was closest to growing up, so it would make sense that that would be the most impactful reunion right at the beginning. Like, I haven't seen you in so long, look at all the things that we've been through. Now we have to go through and actually get to the business of defending the realm. Then they have that big meeting with Sansa. So you guys let me know in the comments, do you actually think that the Arya reunion takes place here in Wintertown before the big meeting with Sansa, Daenerys, and Jon inside the walls at Winterfell? Then you get the Sansa reunion. We already talked about that and what her attitude towards Daenerys is at the beginning of the season. Then you have the scenes of them inside the Great Hall with Daenerys' costume change, with that look on her face, like she's really happy to be here. She wants to be a team player. She's really happy to meet Jon Snow's family. You just have to imagine that Sansa's on the other side of the table, just staring daggers back at her. The actors have also been doing official press recently. Sophie Turner revealed, even though we don't see it in any of the footage here, that Sansa actually gets to wear a version of armor this season. Not Stark armor like you see Jaime wearing or Jon Snow. The way she describes it is just thicker versions of Stark leather with extra intricate northern designs. So imagine the way that Cersei's changed her costume between Season 7 and Season 8. She has those armor-looking shoulder pads. Her Season 8 costume looks even more like it's armored up, even though technically she's not wearing armor. There's a shot of the Night King with his ice javelin. I'm assuming that some of these are actually from the end of Season 7, Episode 6, when he was going after them and they were trying to escape on Drogon's back. The one new bit of this, though, does look like it's Viserion and the Night King flying through the wreckage of the wall as it comes tumbling down, because it's happening during daytime, not during nighttime when it happened during Season 7, Episode 7. So this might be either extra footage left over from the end of Season 7 or just an early shot of them just recapping what's happening at the beginning of the season. Because I did a video about the official cast list for Episode 1, and the Night King actor is not listed in it, so maybe it's just because he's a background CG shot and they didn't need him on set that day, so we wouldn't take it too seriously. But we'll get a little more details like that as we get closer to the season. Usually we don't find out exact run times and episode titles until it's right before episodes air. But most of the footage we've seen so far, as we know, is actually from Season 8, Episode 1 at the beginning of the episode, which isn't a big surprise, but I'm expecting that they'll probably drop a proper trailer sometime. If it's not later today, then it'll be in the next 2 weeks or so. But if we hear anything about that, I will totally do a video about it. Post all your reactions to the Game of Thrones footage in the comments below. There's obviously extra footage in here for the Deadwood movie that's coming out later this year, with Seth Bullock talking to Ian McShane's Al Swearingen, probably dropping a lot of F-bombs. There's a new scene from Watchmen with Jeremy Irons as older Adrian Veidt blowing out a candle on his birthday cake. The cake is just colored to look like his Watchmen costume, so that's just them sort of winking at the camera. He kind of smiles at it like, I see what you did here. You made me a birthday cake like my old costume. The other big surprise is they also include footage for His Dark Materials Season 1, The Golden Compass. So this is James McAvoy as Lord Asriel, little Daphne Keene, X-23 from the Logan movie, playing Lyra, and Ruth Wilson as Marissa Coulter. There's no release date for it yet. It's a BBC production, but they will be airing episodes on HBO inside the United States. What'll happen is I was actually working on a totally different Game of Thrones video when all this footage drops, so I'll post that in the next day or two, and I'll name a giveaway winner when I do that. So while you wait for everything, click here for all my other Game of Thrones Season 8 teaser and trailer videos, and click here for my new Season 8 House Stark promo and predictions. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. See you guys tonight.